Hi guys, this is Sunny. Welcome to the 8th tutorial in this series. So in this tutorial I'll be talking about Java loops. So the very first loop I'll be talking about is the for loop. So let's take an example of that. So let's say I want to execute a print line, let's say 10 times. And how am I going to do that? So this is the example of for loop. So this is how you define a for loop. So you say for, and within brackets you define a variable which is int I equals 0. So that's the starting point. So this defines the starting value of this variable I, and the second condition is going to be up to what value you want to make sure this value reaches. So this value reaches up to value, let's say 10. I want to execute 10 times, and I want to increment this value I by 1. So this is the starting point of the variable. This is the ending value, or rather the value before that this I represents, and this is the incremental value. You want to increment by 1. So this is how you define a for loop, and then within that you want to put your code. So what I want to do is I want to print out hello world 10 times. So if I run this code now, you'll see the hello world printed 10 times. So this is an example of a for loop, very basic for loop. So again, this is where you define the variable. This is the starting value of the variable. This is the ending value of the variable, and this is the incremental you want to have. So you want to increment by 1 or 2. This is where you can define that. So this is the for loop. The second loop is the while loop. So in the while loop you have something like this. So let's say I want to do while. Again, the same thing, I want to print hello world 10 times. So this is a little bit different. So for the while loop you want to have the variable outside. So you want to say I equals 0, and then you want to have I less than 10. So what this means is that you want to define a variable first. That's the first thing. And second thing is this is while, and within the brackets you want to put how many times, the maximum value for this variable. So the maximum value for this variable we want is less than 10. That means it's going to be 9, because we will be incrementing by 1, and we want to increment by 1. This is how you increment by 1. I talked about this auto increment in my previous tutorial, so you can take a look at that if you're confused. So I want to increment after I execute a piece of code. So the piece of code I want to execute is this. So I'm just going to copy from here and paste it over here. So now what I'm essentially doing here is I'm defining a variable which is I equals 0, just like over here, I equals 0. Then I want to tell it, like, what's the maximum value I need this variable to achieve, and I said it should be less than 10, and this is exactly what I said over here, less than 10. And my for loop I said increment by 1, and I'm incrementing by 1. So I'm incrementing by 1 because I want to execute the code first, and then after increment the value by 1. So if I look at this and I execute this, so you will see, so this is 10 times for the while loop, and then the first 10 times for the for loop. So these are two loops that we have. I want to talk about something again within these two loops. So you see, for the while loop especially, let's say if I forgot to increment by 1, let's say I forgot that, and what's going to happen, and let's say I want to comment this out so that I don't want it to print. So let's say I initialize the value. I said the maximum value should be 10. What's going to happen after that? So let's see if I forgot to increment. So if I run the program, so you see the program, you probably won't notice, but if you see, carefully, the program is still running. It didn't stop. And why is that? And I see my machine is making noises, so I'm just gonna stop it and minimize this. So the reason why that's the case, because you didn't increment the value. because this condition is still true every time, because the value I is still 0. It's not incrementing by 1. And if it's 0 and 0 is less than 10, yes it is, so it goes and prints and checks again. 0 is less than 10, yes it is, goes and prints. So it keeps going on and on and forever, and the reason is that you're not incrementing the value, and this statement is always true. So if you put I++, this is gonna make sure it increments by 1, and once this value is greater than or equal to 10, this is not gonna be true, and it's gonna exit this loop. And that's how you exit this loop. And that's the key difference between the while and the for. The for expects you to put the value here in this for loop, so you may not actually make that mistake, but here you may make a mistake if you don't increment the value. But in this case, you have to put that as part of the for loop. But here this is not part of the for loop. This is, you have to remember, you have to put it. So these are the two loops rather, the for loop and the while loop I want to talk about. You will be using this in many different cases in your programs. I hope this helps us. So if there's any questions or concerns you guys have, leave me a comment in the comment box. Thank you so much, guys.